is to pick up the bill on the desk of the Senate and give us 5 more Democrat votes to pass it.
Air traffic control issues are worsening, plus workers are missing paychecks. There's worry about food benefits for the needy. Those expire this weekend. Democrats are demanding that the White House free up money, which is set aside for an emergency.
It's $8 billion a month for SNAP, okay? We have 5 to 6. You bet we could find the rest of the money to do that. And so what they want to say, for politics, is that it's the Democrats that don't want to feed your kids. The money is there. Go get it.
Federal judges are dictating as if they are the President of the United States, demanding the Trump administration release SNAP benefits even though the government shutdown continues for 31 days. We cannot continue as a country where we have district and federal judges ruling against the executive branch and the president. That is not how this country runs. Yes, there are checks and balances, but the executive branch holds a majority of the power. If President Trump decides he wants to keep the government shut down, and Democrats want to continue playing games with people's lives by not voting for a clean CR bill, then that is how it must stand. We cannot continue to allow these judges, or should I say these activists parading as judges, to rule above the president. What is the point of having elections if these judges in lower courts are going to decide and dictate how this country is ran? We have Fox News. 2 judges rule Trump administration must keep SNAP benefits in place as shutdown drags on. A federal judge in Massachusetts seems sympathetic to the arguments made by 25 Democrat state leaders during an emergency hearing over the SNAP benefits. And as of now, a majority of these states have, in a sense, invoked a state emergency to find funding to continue these benefits. I really hope that this red pills, and I believe it is going to red pill a lot of normal Americans as to how much of a grift the welfare system has become. It is no longer in place to help the most needy in our nation, the people that are down on their luck, the people that may have lost their jobs, who have multiple kids that they cannot afford to feed. It has become a reparations style grift for the lowest income people in this country. Per capita, it is being used more on Black people than any other race in this nation. That is a fact. You will hear leftists say that more white people are on welfare benefits. That is a fact. White people make up over 60% of the entire population, yet they are only using 28% of the benefits. While on the other hand, you have 13% of the population, Black people, African Americans, who are responsible for 18% of SNAP benefits. Per capita would show you that it is a 4-to-1 ratio of Black people to white people that are being given benefits from your taxpayers, your taxes. A lot of these people, as from the videos we've seen, I've shown some of them to you on the streams and on videos, other videos I've done, are able-bodied human beings who could easily go and get a job, but choose not to because they have been taught by generations prior to them and their families that you can scam the federal government if you just continue to have babies out of wedlock with multiple men and continue to try to apply for every single benefit that there is possible, whether it is EBT or SNAP, whether it is WIC, whether it is Section 8 or welfare in itself. We cannot continue as a nation when we have a certain amount of population that refuse to work And then in return, when their benefits, quote unquote, I'm using that term extremely loosely, are cut off, they threaten violence and they threaten to commit crimes to get what they want. This is childish behavior and it should never be allowed in the United States. If the Trump administration was serious, he would send in law enforcement officers to arrest every single one of these people that has been bragging about committing violence or committing theft if they are not given their benefits. That is what we like to call blackmail. That is illegal in this country. We need to start taking this seriously. We cannot, I will repeat, cannot remain a country if this is how we're going to run. We are $38 trillion in debt, and it is continuing to skyrocket. That is not how things work. We cannot be held hostage by people that refuse to contribute to society like the rest of us. I myself I've been working since I was 11, doing odd jobs. I had my first real job with a real paycheck when I was 14. I have been paying into taxes, whether it be state, city, or federal, since the age of 14. For 2/3 of my life, I have been paying into a system that has not benefited me in most regards. It has been stealing my wealth and giving it to entitled people who do not deserve it. I am not saying that everybody that is on welfare or EBT or SNAP or WIC is entitled, able-bodied human beings. I know that there is a lot that are not. I have family members that had to go on these government benefits and safety nets as they were disabled or had kids who were disabled that they could not take care of themselves if they had a job. But there is a lot of people in this country who are just grifting and scamming the system so that they continue to be lazy and can continue to be dregs to society. Excuse me. They say a federal judge on Friday ordered the Trump administration to continue to fund supplemental nutrition assistance programs during the ongoing government shutdown, delivering near-term relief to roughly 42 million Americans who received the aid just hours before the funding was slated to dry up. We have $6 billion on hand. The USDA has $6 billion. It costs over $8.5 billion per month to fund SNAP benefits. Think about that. 8.5 billion with a B, bravo, with a B, $billion every single month. That is absolutely insane. I don't know what that is per year, but let me get my calculator out and I will tell you. 8.5 times 12. You are looking at over $1 trillion a year that is going to these benefits. There is absolutely no reason why we should be spending $1 trillion a year to supplement people who are lazy, while the rest of us work and have our incomes stolen from us so that we can feed, house, and supplement these people's lifestyles. You cannot have a nation that does that. That will put this nation in a total collapse within a few years. We're 38 trillion in debt. Half of that debt almost has come from welfare itself. I believe 14 to 15 trillion are the estimates since the creation of the welfare system during Lyndon B. Johnson's term in 1968. I could be wrong on that date. $14 trillion. Half of our debt. Think about that. That is absolutely insane. They go on to say the emergency order from U.S. District Judge, and of course it's a Star Wars name, Indira Talwani. Every single time it is a Star Wars name. And this is another thing. I've made this post multiple times on X, and I have told multiple people in real life that I talk to about this stuff. We should not be allowing people who are not American born or who are not of this country's, I don't want to say birth race, but this country's ancestors to be running for political office or to be running and being allowed to be judges or district attorneys or attorneys in general. If it has to do with the state, city, or federal levels, these people that are foreigners should have no business being allowed to hold these positions. Because as you can see, a federal judge that does not have the power is making rulings that affect the entire country. I did not vote for this. What is the point of having an election if we are going to have federal judges with Star Wars names making these decisions for the entire country, pretty much going around the executive branch telling them this is how you're going to do this? We have checks and balances in this country for a reason, to keep people like this from doing things like this. They go on to say the Trump administration must resume SNAP benefits, which were slated to expire November 1st, ruling that the plaintiffs who filed the lawsuit are likely to succeed on their claims that the suspension of the benefits is unlawful. Absolutely wrong. It is 100% lawful. Democrats continue to play this game where they're going to continue to keep the government shut down until they get their $1.5 trillion for their illegal aliens and their transgender operations. This is absolutely lawful for the Republicans to do. This is absolutely lawful for the Trump administration to do. We cannot just print money because people who don't do anything in this country are going to lose those benefits. You cannot survive as a country if you continue to spend money that has no backing. This is absolutely ridiculous, and this should piss off every normal American who works for a living. You and I are supplementing these lazy people so that they can sit around, pop out babies, smoke weed all day, go commit other crimes, and then get paid by us, not the government, to do nothing. If these people want benefits, there must be requirements that they either do community service or they hold a part-time job. You only have to work 20 hours every 80 weeks, so that would average out to about 5 hours a week. I would even be okay with that. But we must ensure that these people that are on these benefits take a drug test every single week they are on these benefits. That is a must, because you make these people take a drug test and you will see, I guarantee it, mark my words, you will see a 45 to 50% decrease in the amount of people that are receiving these benefits. They say she ordered the government to provide the court no later than Monday, November 3rd, with additional details on how it plans to keep the program funded and whether the appropriated benefits must be distributed in full or in part. Moments later, a separate federal judge in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to continue paying for food stamps during the shutdown. Absolutely illegal. They cannot do this. They don't have the power to do this. Congress holds the power of the purse, not federal judges. Congress does. You cannot, as a federal judge, demand that Congress pay people with money we do not have. This is absolutely insane that they are allowed to get away with this. The Trump administration needs to start impeaching these judges. They obviously have no fucking idea what they are doing. Impeach these judges, investigate them, because I guarantee you somebody is paying them to make these rulings. The U.S. District Judge John McConnell said the administration must tap into emergency funds to pay for SNAP benefits as soon as possible next month. He issued the emergency order from the bench Friday during an emergency court hearing in Providence. This is absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Star Wars names Talwani heard arguments Thursday from the Trump administration and from a coalition of 25 Democrat governors and state attorneys generals who sued the U.S. Department of Agriculture over its refusal to keep SNAP benefits funded during the ongoing government shutdown. The benefits were slated to expire November 1st, marking the first time in 60 years that the program lapsed because of a government shutdown. Good. Good. Have you noticed any major changes in your life in the last month since the government shut down? I sure as shit haven't. My life has been going about the same as it was prior to the shutdown. The only thing that's changed, the government's not spending any of our money, or at least not spending as much as it usually does. They say Star Wars name Talwani seems sympathetic to the state's arguments on Thursday. It's hard for me to understand how this isn't an emergency when there's no money and a lot of people need their SNAP benefits. That right there, that statement right there is what is wrong with America. There's no money and a lot of people need their SNAP benefits. Why are 42 million Americans on these benefits? There are plenty of jobs out there. There are work from home jobs. There are part-time jobs. There are jobs that Americans don't want to do, so they import a slave class to do them. Make these Americans, if they want to keep their benefits, they do the jobs that the people that were deported, the slave class that was deported, that Democrats love, make them do these jobs. And watch how quickly they will not want to be on these benefits anymore. If these people are going to be allowed to if these people are going to be allowed to steal hardworking Americans' money, they must come with some sort of requirements. Nothing in this country, nothing in this life is free. Somebody down the line pays for your free stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. This gets my blood boiling, as it should every single one of you. This is a situation where we are watching our money being stolen from us and giving to entitled, ungrateful people that don't deserve it. And once again, I'm not saying that everybody that is on these systems doesn't deserve it. There are people that absolutely do, but a majority of them do not. I see videos all the time. I see these TikTok videos of them bragging about the money that they're getting from the government for doing absolutely nothing. They don't take care of their kids. They go and they get their nail and their hair did. They go and buy Gucci purses. They're wearing Gucci slips. They're wearing $200 pair of clothes. That is absolutely insane. You should not be purchasing things that are that much if you are on government benefits. You should be getting beans, rice, beef, cheese, bread, fruits, and vegetables. A little care package every month. That's your benefits. Absolutely, that should be it. We should not be funding these people's lavish lifestyles while we continue to suffer as working human beings. I know people that have 2-income households that are still struggling to buy groceries every month because of the last 5 years of total devastation from inflation that the Biden administration allowed to happen in this country. It's starting to slowly come down, and I'm kind of disappointed that Trump hasn't done more. So it is somewhat his fault as well. But inflation was at 9.1% less than 3 years ago. It has come down to about 3%, which is good, but still not great. Food prices are still extremely high. And I think that what we're going to find out is that these SNAP benefits were subsidizing big grocery. They were subsidizing and are continuing to subsidize these stores like Walmart, Costco, Kroger, all of these stores, these big corporate grocery stores, I guarantee you are getting a boatload of subsidies from your and I's taxes. That is not capitalism. That is socialism. And that should not be allowed. Just like the too big to fail. Absolutely not. I don't care if it's the auto industry. I don't care if it's commercial airline industry. I don't care if it's grocery stores. If you cannot survive on your own without government subsidies, maybe don't build 17 different locations in one city with a population of 500,000. It's as simple as that. Yes, convenience is nice. It is absolutely nice. But when convenience comes at the cost of the American taxpayer losing money that they should be keeping in their own pockets? Absolutely not. It is so crazy how much we are seeing. The veil's been lifted. It is looking like a majority of this country is being propped up on taxpayer money through subsidies of some sort. Absolutely ridiculous. This should never happen. You cannot have a country that continues to strive, let alone survive, if we are propping every single industry up. If these grocery stores want to continue to raise their prices, then people just need to stop shopping at these grocery stores. Start shopping at the mom and pop ones that are still left. Aldi's they usually have decent deals. I go to Aldi's a lot of the time. I don't usually ever go to Walmart. The only time I go to Walmart is to get like bathroom stuff, and that's it. Just we cannot, I'm stressing this, cannot as a nation continue to go down this path if we want to be successful for our future generations. It won't happen. It won't. They go on to say she also agreed that the argument that the cuts of SNAP would be devastating. Absolutely. But you know what? Sometimes you have to rip the Band-Aid off. That's just how it is. She said state leaders said in the lawsuit that suspending the aid would disproportionately harm some tens of millions of vulnerable and low IQ. Sorry, I'm so used to saying low IQ. Low income Americans in their states. Because of USDA's actions, SNAP benefits will be delayed for the first time since the program's inception. Oh, so I was off by a few years. 1960 is when it was started, not 68. I thought it was 60 or 68, not 60. Worse still, USDA suspended SNAP benefits, even though on information and belief it has funds available to it that are sufficient to fund all or at least a substantial portion of November SNAP benefits. This is another problem I have with the federal government. You are loaning money to another branch of the government or branch of our system. What happens when that $5 billion or $6 billion that they have, that the USDA has, is given to spend on these SNAP benefits that fund maybe 2 weeks worth of actual SNAP benefits? So now the USDA is out $5 billion that it needed for agriculture. We're still in the same position that we were prior to this. And Democrats are still playing this game where they're making Americans suffer so that they can try to get their $1.5 trillion for illegals and trans. These people that are supposed to be our leaders seem to not be able to understand thinking more than 2 minutes ahead of where they're at right now. These people are incompetent, yet we continue to vote them in. And this is why I'm a firm believer that not everyone in this country should be allowed to vote. I'm sorry. You should be a certain age, the age limit, and I'll say this as a person who's 38, age limit should be raised to at least 40. Hell, I would even go this far. You must have kids. We could do the landowner if you want to do that. But you should have to take a civics test and you should have to take an IQ test. If your IQ is below 78, no, you know what? If your IQ is below 85, you're not allowed to vote. Because it's the people that are low IQ, these stupid, stupid idiots in our country, keep voting these stupid, stupid idiots to run our country. And that's the reason why we're $38 trillion in debt. They go on to say the lawsuit was filed several days after the Trump administration said last week that it would not use the agricultural department's roughly $5 billion contingency fund to cover the food stamp benefits provided by SNAP for the month of November. A contingency fund. That's like you spending your emergency savings to go on a vacation. Well, you know, we got $7,000 in emergency savings. You know, we haven't taken a vacation in a few months. Let's use the $7,000 in our emergency fund and let's go on a vacation. Then you come back from that vacation and bam, car wreck. Bam, a child gets sick. Bam, you lose your job. Now what? Now what? You're effed. That is going to be our country if we continue to allow this to happen. We cannot allow this to continue to happen. I swear sometimes I feel like I'm living in a psych ward, surrounded by mentally ill people everywhere. I'm not an intelligent person by any means, but I am very, very good at pattern recognition. I'm very good at seeing how the past lays out the future. And even I see this as a horrible idea that we cannot continue to allow to happen. They say instead, officials said the agency is planning to keep it on hand to respond to natural disasters, which it should, absolutely should. What happens if we have a situation where we don't get as many crops coming in on the West Coast and the South for wintertime as we originally predicted? What if the yields are not as high as they were predicted to be? We're screwed. You want to see what it's like when grocery stores have no food? That's what real civil war looks like. That's what real civil unrest looks like, when people can't eat. We haven't seen anything yet. People think that this country's had it hard, or things are going crazy right now, which they are to an extent. Just wait until those grocery stores no longer have food. That's when it gets really interesting. In the near term, the state asked Star Wars name Talwani to order the Trump administration to release the USDA contingency funds to help ensure there is no lapse in SNAP benefits beginning November 1st. Shutting off SNAP benefits will cause deterioration of public health and well-being. Good. Good. Maybe that'll light the fire under these people's asses to go out and get a job instead of leeching off us, the taxpayers. The USDA, for its part, had not yet shared details on the policy decision or decisions not to funnel the contingency funds to SNAP benefits. A note on its website simply said that the well has run dry. Good. I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm absolutely glad. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st, the agency said. The Justice Department has not yet said whether it will appeal either of the rulings to the First Circuit Court of Appeals. It absolutely better appeal these rulings. This is absolutely a joke that we are allowing federal judges to wield more power than the president themselves. And this is what Democrats don't understand. This game that they continue to play will eventually be played against them when they get back into power, God forbid, if they ever get back into power. Do you not think that federal and district judges that were nominated by President Trump won't do the same thing to stall everything that you're doing to make you guys look like fools? Because they will. Just like with the lawfare, they don't think that far ahead, or they think that they're going to remain in power in these certain situations. Trump needs to impeach every single one of these judges that has done these stupid rulings since he got into office, replace them with Trump appointees, and fill this entire country with Trump judges and loyal Trump judges. I'm not talking about these rhino judges. He needs to fill them with legitimate, loyal Trump judges. Two can play at this game, Democrats. The road goes both ways. Here we have ABC News. They said a federal judge in Boston has ruled that the Trump administration's attempt to suspend SNAP funding is unlawful, quote unquote, but declined to immediately order the program be funded. Of course, it's a judge in Boston. Why wouldn't it be a judge in Boston? It seems that it's always coming from these blue states. Every single one of these rulings is coming from these blue states. Here we have Governor Josh Shapiro. He says, "We won our lawsuit against the Trump administration to force them to use the available funds at their disposal to continue SNAP benefits. Think about that. You have a Democrat governor saying that he is forcing the president to do something that he has no power to do. It is not up to President Trump where this money goes. It is up to Congress. You would think a governor of a state would understand how the federal government actually works. But here you have a prime example that they don't. This is how Democrats are. They have no understanding of anything, but they'll throw the Constitution in your face when you try to go and legally deport illegal aliens that have invaded this country. These people are evil, and they will say and lie about anything they possibly can to get even the slightest win. He goes on to say, I'm urging the Trump administration to follow the judge's rulings. Do not, absolutely do not ignore and continue on, and do right by the 2 million Pennsylvanians depending on them by getting the money out as quickly as possible. Absolutely not. Because it's been proven statistically, they've done polls, 24% of people on SNAP vote Democrat, as compared to 12% that vote Republican. Absolutely do not. Continue to keep the government shut down until they vote for a clean CR bill. Continue to use this moment to push and beat it into these people's brains that the Democrats are the reason why the government continues to be shut down. They are using your suffrage as a small, minute amount of leverage that actually is not even leverage at all, because the Republicans are coming out on top of this one. It is hurting the Democrats more than it is the Republicans. So continue to ignore these judges, and until the Democrats come to the table and pass a clean CR, keep it all shut down. Keep it shut down to the midterms. Seriously, keep it all shut down until the midterms. He says, we are using every tool at our disposal to put food on the tables. This fight isn't over and our work isn't done. Well, President Trump had a response to this ruling on Truth Social. He says, our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available. That is correct. They do not have legal authority to do this. And now 2 courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do. I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. It is already delayed enough due to Democrats keeping the government closed through the monthly payment date. And even if we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it will be my honor to provide the funding, just like I did with the military and law enforcement pay. The Democrats should quit this charade where they hurt people for their own political reasons, and immediately reopen the government. If you use SNAP benefits, call the Senate Democrats and tell them to reopen the government now. Here is crying Chuck Schumer's office number. I'm glad he put that on there. And I hope his phone is blowing up off the hook. I still do not like this response. It's a good response. He's playing both sides. I understand he has to do that. But do not bend the knee to these people. Absolutely do not bend the knee to these people. They don't deserve any sort of sympathy. They don't deserve for us to come to the table. If they want to play this game where they keep the government shut down until they get money for their new slave class and their mentally ill voter base, keep it shut down. I don't give a shit. Keep it all shut down. If these people want SNAP given to the American population, how about the Democrats give up their salaries for a year? They're each getting about $200,000 a year. There's a few million. See how quickly that money dries up. It'll all be gone in less than 20 minutes. But if they're serious about wanting these people to get their SNAP benefits, give up your salary. I bet that you won't, Democrats. I would bet my entire life savings that you wouldn't be that type of a person as you continue to insider trade, even though you're not getting paid either. We all know you're making money off insider trades. We all know you were making money off the Apple increase in stock. I made a good amount off the 5% increase after they had the earnings call. But I guarantee you a bunch of these senators and these House Republicans are all making hundreds of thousands of dollars a week just off of insider trading. So why don't you give up your salaries? Why don't you use some of your hundreds of millions of dollars that you have and give it to the American people that you so sincerely say that you support? I bet you won't. Actually, I guarantee you won't, Democrats. But I just wanted to bring this one up. It was an article that needs, yet another article that needs to be shared with everyone. Share this with your friends, your family, the group chat, everybody possible, because this is getting ridiculous. We are a country that is being run by low court judges. Absolutely despicable behavior from the same people that say that they are fighting for democracy. This is not democracy. This is authoritarianism. It is lawfare. But on that note, I'm going to end this one here. You guys have a great Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Go hang out with your friends, your family. Tell them you love them. Give them hugs. And most of all, and most importantly of all, God is great. I'll see you guys in the next one.